Michael Lowry, the communications manager with Western Canada Marine Response.
All right.
Yes.
Here we are. We are at Beecher Bay and we are heading down to, where are we going?
Well, we're heading down to our vessels at Beecher Bay. I can talk a little bit about this base. So we recently went through a pretty big expansion to meet the new traffic risks from the Trans Mountain project and the increase of tankers. And so Trans Mountain approached us to look at how we could improve response to meet to meet their project needs. And we looked at a risk assessment that was done. And essentially we proposed shorter response time. So in Canada, the spill response is managed through the Canada Shipping Act by Transport Canada, and they set certain standards. And so we committed to some new standards, some new voluntary time standards, and most of those are based around the shipping lanes. So all of the deep sea traffic that comes into the Port of Vancouver and a lot of traffic that goes down into Washington State comes through the shipping lanes and the Juan de Fuca Strait and the Salish Sea. So we proposed a new maximum 6-hour response commitment in the shipping lanes, and then in the Port of Vancouver a 2-hour response commitment. So those new time standards is what drove us to have more bases and more vessels and more people. And so the Beecher Bay is part of that. It's a very important part of that expansion. And so this moorage here was all built as part of that expansion project to house our vessels. And we've got a number of different types of vessels that we're walking past here. We've got on our right we have the Scia'new Sentinel, which was named by the Beecher Bay community, the Scia'new Nation. This is a landing craft. So it is a 52-foot landing craft, jet propulsion, and that's important because it allows us to bring equipment to remote areas. So we're responsible for 27,000 kilometers of coast, the entire BC coastline. And so if we had a spill in a remote area, we could actually put a Ford F-150 onto this platform here, and we could take that to a remote site. So a very useful piece of equipment for us. Behind us, if we wanted the vessels that we walk past are boom skiffs and mini barges. So the one that we're looking at here, the Sentinel 115, is what's called a boom skiff. And essentially just think of a trailer for the water. And so that carries our boom to a spill site, but also it can carry any other thing else. It can carry, debris that we remove from a response, basically anything that a trailer weighs. So it can be towed behind one of our vessels. And then in behind that, we have what's called a mini barge. And so that holds oil. And the idea here is that when our skimmers are operating, instead of having the entire vessel come back to offload, we can just offload onto this mini barge. It holds about 40 tons of oil. And then that mini barge is then towed back to the shore. So it allows our skimming vessels to continue to operate as we proceed through the response.
Wow, it's fascinating. What a beautiful spot.
Yes, it's gorgeous, isn't it? Yeah, so we leased this from the Scia'new First Nation, the key partners for us in this particular base. So as we're coming up here, this is the GM Penman, named after a former employee.
That was my first one that I did.
Yes, that's right. So these are what's called skimming vessels.
Did you say skinny?
Skimmy.
Skimmy. Skimmy.
Skimming vessels, yeah, which means that they remove the oil from the surface by skimming it off. And so on board, actually, as we come up to the side, you can see how this works. So this vessel goes quite fast. It's a rapid response boat. It goes about 25, 26 knots. And when it gets to where the oil is, the crews are going to deploy this boom arm here, this gray arm that's on the deck right now. And so that will be deployed over the side, and then there'll be some yellow boom attached to it. And what it's going to do is it's going to funnel the oil into these trap doors that will open up on the side here. So there's one here and one forward there. So essentially they open out into a tank, and the oil goes into the tank. And then on board on the deck, there's a skimmer. So imagine a conveyor belt with brushes on it. So the brushes are going to rotate through the oil. The oil will stick to those brushes, and then it's skimmed off. So that's how you remove the oil from the surface. Now, what's interesting is it's actually these particular brush skimmers work better with the heavier oils. So your crudes, your dilbits, your bunkers, which is what powers a lot of the deep sea vessels. If we have a diesel spill, which is a much lighter product, we can swap out those skimming systems for what's called a disc skimmer. So same idea, it rotates through the in this case the diesel, and the diesel sticks to these skimming discs. So it's a different type of system for a different kind of product. Okay. Now, a couple other features of this boat. It does have full accommodations on board, and it has infrared cameras up top. So what that means is that this can operate 24/7. So with the digital, the infrared cameras, they can see the heat signature of the oil on the water, and so they'll be able to recover it at nighttime. The other thing it has here is this main boom reel here, the big gray piece in the middle of the deck. So that's another type of boom. And what we do in oil spill response is we first, if the spill happens and we are activated, we will make sure that the vessel has controlled the source of the spill. And so by that I mean maybe they've plugged the leak, or they've transferred the oil from one tank to another tank, just to kind of minimize the amount of oil that actually is released into the environment. And then when we get on scene, we want to contain the oil. So we're going to wrap that deep sea vessel, whatever vessel it is, with the boom. And so that boom on that boom reel there could serve that purpose. So if this was the first vessel on scene, it could do that. Now this boom's interesting. It's different than the boom that we saw on the skiffs, which has its own flotation inside. This one, as it comes off the reel, there's a spring inside the boom, and it sort of inflates as it comes off the reel as the spring expands. And so that's how that particular boom operates.
Where are these built?
So these are built in a shipyard called Rosema, which is down in Washington State.
Oh, sweet.
So they're purpose-built for
Yep.
oil spill response. They're used obviously here in BC, but there's the California Spill Response Group has these, as well as up in Alaska. So they are used throughout the Pacific Northwest. We do have smaller versions of these for sheltered waters, for harbor spills. We've got one in Vancouver and one up in Prince Rupert. We'll move down to the final vessel here.
Oh, Strait Sentinel's my next
go.
video.
So this is the Strait Sentinel. You can see that it's a much wider platform than the GM Penman. And so when we're doing our expansion, which was essentially basically double the size of the organization, we added 40 vessels to our fleet. So we've got about 88 vessels now for the whole coast. But one kind of asset we didn't have was something that could handle heavier weather on the coast. So we went to Robert Allen, that's a naval architect firm in Vancouver, and they specialize, they're known internationally for building working boats, for building tugs. And we asked them, look, we need a steadier platform for heavier weather. So they custom designed this boat for us. So they're one of a kind in the world. And there's 3 of them in our fleets. There's one here, one in Nanaimo, and one in Port Alberni. And so as I mentioned, you can see it's a much wider platform. It's not a go fast boat like the Penman is. It doesn't remove oil, but it can do booming operations. So if it was heavier seas, we would probably send this boat out to be first on scene. But yeah, it is slower. It goes maybe about 10 knots compared to the 25 knots that the Penman and
I'm trying not to shake. I'm freezing.
and some of those boats go. So also this could act as a forward platform for other smaller vessels to raft up to at nighttime. They could stay on board, they could live on board, that kind of thing. So yeah, and then just to your right here is the Sentinel 214, which is another one of our mini barges. So what we might do now is just sort of stop filming for a second, and looks like we could get on the back deck of the Strait Sentinel if you want. This would be a large ocean-going boom. Again, similar to the one on the Penman, it's got a built-in spring system, so as it's coming off the back deck, it will inflate. And then over here we've got a current buster, which is a sort of a V sweep system that can be used to recover oil. So We've got the containment here with this boom, and then we've got the recovery here with the no-feed current buster 4. And as you can see, if you look up to the bridge there, you can see that the vessel captain can operate either forward or aft. So if there's a lot of work being done on the back deck, he can actually operate in the captain's chair there, and you can see the whole operation, and it makes it a lot easier for him to to control what's going on.
Do you have bow thrusters on this?
Yeah.
So this thing can turn on a dime.
Yeah, all the bigger assets.
Yeah.
And does as well.
Yeah.
And the 52-foot landing craft as well.
Loaded with hydraulics.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
And how long has WCMRC been doing this for?
Yeah, we got our start in the mid-70s. So we were at that time. There was a lot more refining capacity that existed in Vancouver Harbor, and so the refineries kind of joined together and said, we've all got our own spill response equipment. Let's get together and form a co-op, an industry co-op. And so that entity was called Burrard Clean, and it was really looking just after spills in Vancouver Harbor. And then the Exxon Valdez happened in '89.
Oh, we all remember that.
Yeah, well, not everyone. There's a lot of younger folks these days that don't actually know that spill, which is
Really?
which is fascinating. Yeah, so the Exxon was the spill that triggered the Canadian government, even though it was in American waters, it triggered the Canadian government to get more involved and formalize response across the country. So they looked at the lessons learned from that spill. They made improvements to the safety side of shipping, and requirements for deep seas to have local Canadian pilots, the requirement for tankers to have escort tugs and double hulls on the design of the tankers, so that if you did have an accident, you might just hopefully puncture the first hull, and compartmentalize where the oil was as well. Exxon took a single skin, only oil was in one hole, so once you punctured that, everything came out. So the design of the tankers changed quite a bit after that particular incident. And the Americans took similar lessons away from it. The International Maritime Organization, the IMO, has sort of developed best guidelines for what spill response should look like in a country, and Canada adopted those into our regulations, into the Canada Shipping Act.
Thank
It's
you.
rather scary what they're doing. They want to put it in.
Oh,
Yeah. Lived here all my life.
Yeah, well, it just came online. I mean, we just cut the ribbon on the base like last year. Right?
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, they were. We had until the base up top was ready. They were working out of a temporary office in downtown Victoria.
Oh.
And then we built out the moorage first, and then finished the base off last year.
Ah.
Yeah, we had a big open house earlier in the year. It was great. We had like 400 people come through.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it was nice.
There's lots of orange and red, or orange and blue and white around here.
Yeah, it's interesting. We were an unbranded fleet for a long period of time. We just sort of had these aluminum hulled vessels, and realized that that's not great in a response if no one really knows who's supposed to be there doing the actual cleanup. So we went through a process of sort of developing a design and making sure that we were more visible and so now when the response happens, it's pretty clear who's supposed to be there doing the work and maybe who's interfering with the work. So
You actually said something about the length of our coastline in kilometers.
yes, 27,000 kilometers. Yeah.
Does that include around the smaller islands? And
Yeah, I believe
Oh.
so. Yeah.
they include everything.
27,000 kilometers of coastline. Yeah.
Wow.
So islands and everything. Yeah, and this system that's in place in Canada, it's on both coasts. So there's a similar organization called Eastern Canada Response Corporation, ECRC, and they operate on the Great Lakes and the East Coast and the St. Lawrence Seaway. So wider geographic area. But they're not quite as big as us. They didn't have this sort of trans-mountain, infusion of capital and whatnot. So it's important to note too that this is entirely industry funded, right? So it's a polluter pay model. Those who potentially pose the risk are there to fund, or are by law are supposed to fund what the response system is in place. So
Okay.
we get that funding through our membership. So individual vessels, if they're big, if they're over a certain size, doesn't matter what they do. If they're cruise ships or oil tankers, they have to have membership with us. And then we also get money from the oil handling facilities like Trans Mountain. We kind of charge them a toll.
Well, at least it's not snowing.
Yeah, I'm from Calgary originally, so this is mild.
Did you see the soccer game that was going on in Ottawa about a week ago?
Oh no!
Oh yeah, they had about 4 inches of snow.
Oh God!
Typical Canadian thing.
That's right. Well, I might wait till we get closer so we can kind of film it all. But yeah, Kotug it's the only vessel. It's the only vessel that we don't do ourselves. It was a pretty complicated vessel in terms of scope and scale that we didn't really have the ability for in-house. So the Kotug folks operate the vessel, and our crews, like Kyle's crews, will be the spill response personnel sort of managing the equipment and a response.
Now, does this ramp change at high tide or low tide, or is it always the same?
No, it floats at the bottom there. It's going to change at the tide for sure.
Under my use, it'll get the lighthouses up and down the coast.
Yeah?
Yeah, pretty crap.
Uh-huh. Oh, interesting.
Oh my goodness. Woo.
What we'll do is we'll get on board, we'll sign in,
Okay.
and then we'll see if we can find a sort of a sheltered spot on the back deck there to give you a bit of an overview. And
Okay.
Then if the crew's still around, we might be able to get up on the bridge too.
Woo. This ship's huge.
Yeah. We'll just, if you're more comfortable and you want to go down backwards, you can, but again, try to have 3 points of contact. Yeah, I think they might have already headed up to the bridge, so. Yeah. Yeah, so we're standing on the aft deck here of the KJ Gardner. It's named after our last president, who sort of saw through the expansion that we're looking at today. And this is one of the few vessels that was not an original build as part of the expansion. So these boats are called offshore support vessels or supply vessels, and their original purpose in life is to service offshore oil platforms. So they can take supplies out. Obviously, can handle heavy weather. They've got storage on board, which is very key for us. So underneath us, there's tanks, and so there's about 1,000 tons of storage on board, and that's very key for that 6-hour response I was talking about. Because when we're meeting that response time, we're not just bringing one asset out; we're having enough equipment for 2,500 tons fill. And so this meets that, allows us to meet that requirement. Now, the other things about this vessel that are important to note is we've kept the emergency towing ability. So this line that we're kind of standing on here.
Oh yeah.
So this is this allows us, goes about 208 tons of bollard pull. So this could tow pretty much any vessel that we can see on the coast here. Big container ships, whatever, cruise ships that might be in distress. This vessel can be tasked to go out and rescue those particular vessels as a tow vessel. We've also kept the firefighting ability of this vessel as well. So if you think back to the Deepwater Horizon and all those vessels trying to put out the fire on the rig.
I remember that.
That would be vessels like these doing that. And so they have massive water cannons on board that fulfill that purpose. And so we've kept that on board as well, so that if there was ever a fire on a deep sea or any other vessel, this could be, again, it could be tasked as an emergency response vessel to handle the fire as well. So in addition to oil spill response, it does towing and firefighting.
And I'll turn the camera off going up the stairs.
Oh, yeah.
This is home for 11 people for a month. I'd like to take a moment to thank Michael Lowry for the tour of the Beecher Bay base at Western Canada Marine Response Corporation. It was a real privilege to see firsthand where WCMRC's ships call home, to spend time out on the deck of the Strait Sentinel, and then to step aboard the KJ Gardner. And a special thank you to my dad for joining me on this visit. It made the day even more meaningful. This part of the video is a self-guided walk around the bridge. I've never been on a bridge this modern, and it really gives you an appreciation for the training, experience, and decision-making that go into running a ship like this. Spending time here has given me an even deeper appreciation for the work WCMRC does every single day. These aren't just impressive vessels, they represent readiness, responsibility, and care for our ocean and our coastline. Michael does an incredible job sharing that story, and I'm truly grateful for the opportunity to learn more and pass it on to you. If you've missed them, I've also shared shipyard stories on the GM Penman and the Strait Sentinel from lift to launch. And the story continues with my next shipyard video, the lift of WCMRC's sister ship, the Coastal Sentinel. Thank you, WCMRC, for the work you do every single day to care for our ocean and our coastline. It's an honor to share these stories and to introduce you to the people and vessels that stand ready along our coast, protecting over 27,000 kilometers of our precious coastline. And this is the tour of the bridge.